The Winnipeg Jets are now set to face the Colorado Avalanche in round 1 of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. And in this video, I'm going to break down everything about this series, including the goaltending, the key players, the X factors of this series. So you're going to want to stick around to find out who is going to win this series. But before we get into it, we got to say that 78% of you guys watching this video aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you're big NHL fans, you're really hyped up for the playoffs, just like all of us here on the channel, make sure to go down below and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything coming up in the NHL. So go down below, hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. But with that said, let's get right into it. And that is the Jets versus the Avs is going to be a banger. And yes, we have seen this team match up with each other 3 times in the regular season. And if we just look, the Colorado Avalanche lost to the Winnipeg Jets 3 times this season, with the biggest of those wins for Winnipeg being the 7-0 victory in their last meeting. Does this matter in the playoffs? Some would say yes, some would say no. For me, I think it may play some sort of factor here in this series. Obviously, looks like Winnipeg has had Colorado's number this season with a big 7-0 victory in their last meeting. The Winnipeg Jets kind of have that momentum on their side. They kind of have Colorado's number, like I mentioned. So it does play a little bit of a factor, but these teams now, are looking different since the last time they faced. Some injuries have came up, and now, both teams are, I believe, fully healthy or close to fully healthy going into this season. So there might be some different looks. They've added some players at the trade deadline that are really going to help these teams going into this playoffs. And the first team we're going to talk about here is the Colorado Avalanche. And yes, obviously, when you have the big 3 of MacKinnon, Makar, and Mikko Rantanen, everybody is going to take you as a serious cup threat. I mean, that's just, obvious. These guys are 3 of some of the best stars within the NHL, and now they have, their supporting cast, their bottom 6 looks a little bit different than last year when they were in the playoffs. I mean, they added Ross Colton, Miles Wood, and the deadline addition of Brandon Duhaime, and at the top of the lineup, they got Jonathan Drouin, his first year as an Av. He's a favorite for comeback player of the year, and the 3rd overall pick back in 2013 has been nearly a point per game guy since mid-December, skating beside his old major junior pal, Nathan MacKinnon. And you throw a second-line center in Casey Mittelstadt, another guy who they picked up at the deadline, and another guy like Sean Walker, a great defensive defenseman that they picked up at the deadline. There are a lot of guys who will be making their Avalanche playoff debut versus Winnipeg, and these guys that they just mentioned are, some of these key factors for this team. Casey Mittelstadt was a guy I was really big fan of when they traded for him. I thought, he was that second-line center that this team needed, and he has proven to be a great player for this Avalanche team. Same with Jonathan Drouin. As a Montreal Canadiens fan, I thought it was great to see Drouin get back to his old ways, what with playing with MacKinnon, like they say here, a point per game player. This is a guy who you need to look out for in this playoff series, in my opinion. I think he's really gonna be the deciding factor of the series. If he can have a good series against Winnipeg, I think this may put them over, to maybe winning the series. Same with Mittelstadt. These are 2 guys who haven't been in the playoffs in a little while, and now we're getting their first taste of it again, and it's just looking like, this team is going to be great going into this first round of the playoffs. Obviously, I mean, you just look at, the MacKinnon with 138 points this season. He's second in the league in points with 51 goals, 87 assists. Then Mikko Rantanen, also a 100-point player this year, 103 points, 41 goals, 62 assists. And Cale Makar, the big 3, the 3 M's if you want to call them, that's 89 points, 68 assists, 21 goals as a defenseman, has really been solid on this blue line for the Colorado Avalanche this season. And obviously you have Jonathan Drouin, who I mentioned, has 56 points in 78 games this season. Valeri Nichushkin, a guy who missed a little bit of time, but since coming back into the lineup has looked good for this team. 51 points, 26 goals, 25 assists. And Devon Toews, another blue liner who's been contributing for this team, 37 assists, 12 goals in 81 games so far this season. And yes, they do have one more game left. I believe it is tonight So this Colorado team, if they win tonight, could give them a little bit of momentum going into this first round against the Winnipeg Jets. And I think this series is going to be really good. It's going to be competitive. I don't think it's going to be a sweep on either side. I think it's going to be a really hard fought series. And if MacKinnon can keep going the way he is, which I expect he is, I don't think any team can stop MacKinnon at this point. And you have the three M's, the MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Makar. I mean, these guys are going to be the crucial offensive players for this team to succeed here against the Jets, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, have a great goaltender. So they're going to need to outscore this opponent. It's going to be tough against a guy like Connor Hellebuyck, but I think if there's an offense that can do it, it is the Colorado Avalanche. But if we flip the script into Winnipeg here, obviously Mark Scheifele has been their guy this year. 72 points, 25 goals, 47 assists. Josh Morrissey has 59 assists for this team, leading the team in assists. Kyle Connor leading the team in goals with 34. And then we have Nikolai Ehlers, a guy who's been great for this team over the years, 61 points this season. And Vladislav Namestnikov, who has been another great player for this team this season as well. And the key players that aren't noted here on this list that I kind of mentioned to earlier were, Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. I really do think these deadline acquisitions for the Winnipeg Jets were what they needed to kind of push them over the hump and finally make a run in the playoffs. They got dealt a tough hand here going up against Colorado, but I think that, if Tyler Toffoli can score the goals like we know he's going to score, and Sean Monahan can be that playmaker, be that 2C behind Mark Scheifele, I think this team, could be really good. Obviously, the stats aren't there like Colorado. Obviously, Colorado's offense is so dominant. But the one thing that differentiates these teams, obviously Colorado has the offense and Winnipeg has the goaltending. So, Avalanche's goaltending has been pretty weak. Then, on the other hand, the Winnipeg Jets goaltending has been amazing all season long. So it's really going to be that battle that wins this series, in my opinion. And it's really going to be a fun one to watch. Like I said, Mark Scheifele always, seems to step it up in the playoffs. And you got guys like Toffoli, a guy who's been there before. He knows what it takes to kind of help this team get through the rounds and get through this series against Colorado. And I think if Winnipeg can knock off Colorado, they could have a little bit of momentum rolling to then maybe advance to the third round, to the Stanley Cup final. It could happen. Do I suspect them to make it to the Cup final this year? No, but I think if they do beat this Avalanche team, it's going to give them a lot of momentum going into the next series. And the same on the other side of the coin for the Colorado Avalanche. I think if they have, a good series here, I think this could, boost their momentum as well. Obviously, their offense is so good going up against such a great defensive, great goaltending team in Winnipeg. It's really going to be a fun series to watch, a physical series to watch too, I do believe. But if we take a look at how these teams match up on paper, we got Winnipeg is first in the league with goals for percentage. Go with 59.5. Then on the other hand, expected goals for percentage goes to Colorado in this. The save percentage, obviously the Winnipeg Jets have the first, ranked first in save percentage in the league with 939, and then Colorado's 23rd in the NHL with a 901 save percentage, and their shot percentages are around the same. We got 9.4 for edge for Colorado, and then an 8.7 for Winnipeg. But if you look at the special teams here, the power play percentage, obviously we know Colorado's power play is lethal. It is an elite power play with a 24.5 power play percentage, which puts them 6th in the league going into the playoffs. And the penalty kill, obviously on the other side for Colorado, they have great special teams there in Colorado that if, they start to draw penalties and get to that power play more often, I think that could be a deciding factor in this series as well. But on the other side, the goals against goes to Winnipeg here, where they're only allowing 2.4 goals a game. So if they can limit this Colorado team to, 2 goals a game, I think this will win them the series. And that kind of gets into my next point here, which is the goaltending is the decider. And yes, like I mentioned, they have the Jets X Factor guy is Connor Hellebuyck, of course, a Vezina candidate this year in my eyes, probably the Vezina winner this year in my eyes. And they say here they're banking on the high level play from their number one stud, who will surely be in the running for a second career Vezina trophy, just like I just mentioned. As the season wound down, Hellebuyck had the best save percentage with a 922 of any goalie who saw more than 40 games. Then his backup partner, Laurent Brossoit, also had a fantastic year in the support role, which is why the Jets entered their final game with the best save percentage in the league with a 919, like I just mentioned. The Winnipeg will have the goalie advantage in this series seems a given. It's just a question of how wide that gap will be, which brings us to our next picture here, which is how does the Avalanche's goaltending match up to Winnipeg's? We have, year two hasn't been as good for Alexander Georgiev as he was in year one. He lost his, second goalie there with Pavel Francouz for the year in November, and that had to force him into a higher workload to avoid their top tenders these days. They say Georgiev is set to play more than any other puck stopper this year. While he does lead the league in wins with 38, his save percentage is only at an 897, and 44 goalies who have played at least 1,000 minutes this year have a better high danger save percentage than Georgiev's 804. Colorado doesn't need him to be all world, doesn't need to be a top goaltender, but even for a team with a championship pedigree, few things are more deflating in the playoffs than not getting a save, not getting that crucial save, especially if you can't seem to get one by the other guy. And like I said, this is going to be the deciding factor in this series. Yes, you can take the offense out of it. Obviously, Colorado's going to score goals. But if Connor Hellebuyck and the Winnipeg Jets defense can limit Colorado's offense to 2 goals a game, I think they can win this series, because I think the Winnipeg Jets can get 3 past Georgiev on any given night. And if Hellebuyck's on the top of his game like he has been all season, I can't see this Avalanche team, they're going to be tight games. They're going to be 1-goal games, in my opinion. Maybe some overtimes here in this series, because Hellebuyck's going to keep it tight. And, on the other side, Georgiev, yes, a great goaltender, has been a good goaltender, but he isn't on the same level as a guy like Connor Hellebuyck. So, I think they're going to be the closest games. I think if McKinnon and Rantanen and Makar and these guys can start to wear down Hellebuyck over the first couple of games of the series while just pepper him with shots, I think that they can win this series in that instance. But if it's close, the shots are about the same, I think I would have to give the edge to Winnipeg here. They are going to be close games, like I said. I don't expect this to be, someone to win in 5 or a sweep to happen. I can't see that happening. It's at least going to go to 6, in my opinion. And with the goaltending the way it is for Winnipeg, this is going to be their key factor. Also, they have guys like Kyle Connor, who has lit it up in the playoffs for them in the past. The best goal scorer on the team, has one of the best shots in the NHL, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a big factor as well. Obviously, Tyler Toffoli is going to be a big factor as well. And the only way I can see, Colorado beating Hellebuyck is on the power play, because their power play is so good. So that Winnipeg needs to limit their penalties in this series for them to be successful, in my opinion. Because on the other side of the coin too, if the Jets go on the power play, the Colorado Avalanche have one of the best penalty killing units in the entire NHL. So it's going to be tough within the special teams for this Jets team. So if they can limit their penalties they're taking, I think they could get the edge in this series, in my opinion. But, if you had to ask me what my series prediction for this series is, it's going to be tough. I think this series is going to go to 7 games, and I think that the Jets will win it in 7. I think that you can't count this Jets team out. I see all over the place like the Avalanche are just going to destroy this Jets team, but I can't see it. The Jets, 3-0 on a 3-0 record on them in the regular season. That kind of plays into it, like I said at the beginning of this video. But I think that the Jets can edge them out in a 7-game series. I think it's going to be a tough road for the Winnipeg Jets to win this series. It's going to be a tough road for the Colorado Avalanche to win this series. It's really going to be a tight-knit series that's going to be won by the goaltenders in the net, in my opinion. But I want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section. What are you guys thinking about this? Do you think that, the Jets are going to win this? Do you think the Avalanche are going to win this? Let me know your predictions down below in the comment section. And we're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here, which is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to John. He says the Leafs are in big trouble. And then Scott came back and he said, I'm a Leaf fan and I wholeheartedly agree. And that was on yesterday's video talking about the Bruins and Leafs series that is coming up. And I'd say my prediction was the Leafs in 6. I'm still going to stand by it. I think this is the year for the Leafs to finally beat Boston in the playoffs. I can understand your frustration as Leafs fans. I know you probably don't have much hope left, but I would hold it out this season. Had the best goal scorer in the league on your team. I think he's going to do something with it this year in the playoffs. But if you guys enjoyed this one, make sure down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're under over 3,500 subscribers here on the channel, so I really appreciate it if you enjoyed the NHL and you like, listen to us chat about hockey for, 10, 15 minutes of your day. Make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to check out that video we did talking about the Leafs and the Bruins, it'll be popping up on your screen right now. But as always, I've been your host, Casey. Keep your stick on the ice.